The grand chamber of the Luminary Council fell silent. 12 pale, slender figures sat around a circular table, their skin giving off a faint blue glow that dimmed with their fading hope. Through the crystal dome above, they could see their once beautiful homeworld now partially shadowed by the massive warships of the Void Empire. Elder Trell, his face lined with age and worry, placed a small device at the center of the table. The ancient artifact, cylindrical and covered in symbols no living luminary fully understood, represented their last hope. "We have no choice," Trell said, his voice heavy. "Our defenses will fail within days. The outer colonies have already fallen. This is our final option." Council member Wren, younger and still clinging to optimism, leaned forward. "The old records speak of a world called Earth, a planet of builders and healers. If anyone can provide shelter for our remaining people, it would be them." What the Luminary didn't understand, couldn't understand, was that the ancient records were incomplete. The partial translations described humans as powerful and resourceful, but failed to mention their long history as warriors. "Activate the beacon," Trell commanded. With trembling hands, Wren pressed a sequence of symbols on the device. It hummed to life, glowing with increasing brightness until it shot a beam of energy upward, passing through the crystal dome without resistance and into space. "Now we wait," Trell whispered, "and hope Earth answers." The signal traveled faster than light, crossing vast emptiness between galaxies, encoded with the Luminary's location and a simple message: "We face extinction. Please help us." 4 light-years away from Earth, the United Earth Defense Fleet conducted routine patrol exercises. The UEDS Invictus, an Olympus-class battlecruiser, led a formation of 20 smaller vessels through the outer reaches of the solar system. On the bridge of the Invictus, Admiral James Walker observed the tactical display with practiced eyes. At 52, Walker had spent 30 years in service to Earth's defense forces. His weathered face and the gray at his temples spoke of experience, while his alert eyes revealed a mind always calculating possible threats. "Sir," called Lieutenant Peters from the communications station, "we're picking up an unusual signal. It's not matching any known format." Walker moved to the station. "Source?" "That's the strange part, sir. It appears to be coming from outside our galaxy." The bridge fell silent. Humanity had developed faster than light travel 50 years ago, but had yet to venture beyond the Milky Way. They had never encountered intelligent alien life, despite decades of searching. "Put it through," Walker ordered. The signal contained no audio or video, just data. The ship's AI began processing it immediately, applying every known decryption and translation algorithm. "Sir," said the AI's calm voice through the ship's speakers, "I've partially decoded the message. It appears to be a distress call." Walker's expression remained neutral, but his mind raced. "From whom?" "A species calling themselves the Luminary. They're requesting humanitarian aid. They claim to be facing extinction from an aggressive force called the Void Empire." "Location?" "Coordinates included in the transmission place them in the Andromeda Galaxy." Walker tapped his console. "Alert Earth Command. I want a secure channel to the Security Council immediately." 6 hours later, Walker stood in the holographic chamber aboard the Invictus, facing the projected images of Earth's highest military and political leaders. The Security Council consisted of 5 commanders representing Earth's unified government. "Let me understand this correctly," said General Rivera, her holographic image flickering slightly. "An unknown alien species is asking for our help against another unknown alien species?" "That's correct, General," Walker replied. "Our linguists and AI have completed translating their message. They're desperate." Director Patel of Intelligence leaned forward. "This could be a trap, or a misunderstanding. We have no verification of any of this." "Which is why we need to investigate," Walker countered. "Humanity has wondered about other, intelligent life for centuries. Now we have confirmation and they're asking for our help." Fleet Admiral Wilson, the highest-ranking military officer present, had remained silent until now. "The Invictus Battle Group has our newest ships and weapon systems. If this is legitimate, what do you propose, Admiral Walker? Walker straightened. I propose taking my battle group to these coordinates. We can assess the situation and provide aid if appropriate. If it's a trap, the Invictus group is more than capable of defending itself or retreating. The council members exchanged glances. This would be first contact, President Taylor said. The implications are enormous. Which is why we should send our best, Walker replied. My crew is ready. We can depart within 12 hours. After further discussion, the vote was unanimous. Humanity would answer the call. The preparation aboard the Invictus and its supporting vessels was intense. Supplies were loaded, weapon systems checked and rechecked. The fleet consisted of the massive Invictus, 3 destroyers, 5 frigates, and numerous support craft. It was not the humanitarian mission the Luminari expected, but a fully armed battle group, ready for any scenario. In his quarters, Walker reviewed the message again. Something about it nagged at him. The desperation was clear, but there was also an assumption in the text. The Luminary seemed to believe Earth already knew about them, about the wider galactic community, as if humanity had been expected to join it long ago. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Enter, he called. Captain Lewis, his second-in-command, stepped in. She was tall and carried herself with confidence born from years of service. All preparations are complete, Admiral. The fleet is ready to depart on your order. Walker nodded. Good. And the new FTL coordinates? Plotted and verified. It will take 3 jumps to reach the Andromeda Galaxy, with recalculation pauses between each. Total travel time, approximately 72 hours. Walker closed the file he was studying. Have you ever wondered why we developed such powerful weapons, Captain? Earth has been unified for over a century. No internal threats requiring this level of military advancement. Lewis considered the question. Preparation, sir. Humanity has always prepared for the unknown. Indeed. Walker stood. And now the unknown has called for help. Alert all ships. We depart in 1 hour. As the Earth fleet prepared to jump into the unknown, the Luminari continued their desperate defense. 3 more colony worlds had fallen to the Void Empire. Millions of refugees crowded the remaining planets, looking to the skies with dwindling hope. Elder Trell stood at the observation platform on the last defensive station orbiting their homeworld. Beside him, Wren monitored the ancient beacon. Any response? Trell asked. Nothing yet, Wren replied. But the records say Earth is far away. It could take time for them to receive our message, let alone respond. Trell nodded slowly. We need medical supplies, shelter technologies, perhaps faster ships for evacuation. Even if they can only save some of our people, it would be enough. A young officer rushed into the chamber. Elder, Void Empire ships have breached the outer defense line. They'll reach the homeworld within days. Trell closed his eyes briefly. Continue the evacuation of the surface. Priority to the young and those carrying our historical records. As the officer hurried away, Wren suddenly gasped. Elder, the beacon, it's receiving a response. Trell moved quickly to the console. What does it say? Wren's eyes widened as he read the incoming data. It's not just a message. They're coming. Earth is sending ships. How many? Trell asked, hope rising in his voice. Wren's hands trembled as he interpreted the data. Many. A fleet. They call it a battle group. Elder, I don't think they're just sending aid workers. Before Trell could respond, the station's alarms blared. On the main screen, a dozen Void Empire ships appeared, moving toward their position. They've found the station, Trell said grimly. We need to return to the surface immediately. As they rushed to the evacuation pods, Trell wondered about Earth's response. The ancient records described humans as builders and healers, yes. But there had been other words too. Words they hadn't fully translated. Words that, had they understood them, might have read warriors, defenders, and soldiers. The Luminari had asked for aid. What they would receive was something far more powerful, an armada from a world that had spent its history preparing for war. The final jump brought Earth's fleet to the edge of luminary space. On the bridge of the Invictus, Admiral Walker stood motionless as the view screens activated, revealing a scene of devastation that silenced every crew member. A nearby planet, once green and blue according to the scanners, now bore massive black scars visible even from orbit. Debris from destroyed ships and stations formed a thin ring around the world. In the distance, flashes of weapons fire indicated ongoing battles. "My God," whispered Captain Lewis beside him. Walker's jaw tightened. "Full sensor sweep. I want to know what we're looking at, and find me the Luminari, the ones who sent the distress call." The crew moved with practiced efficiency despite their shock. Lieutenant Peters at Communications worked quickly to locate the source of the original transmission. "Sir, I'm detecting a small fleet of ships near the fourth planet of this system. Their energy signatures match the beacon that sent us the message." "Set course, but approach with caution," Walker ordered. "All ships maintain defensive formation. Delta. Weapon systems on standby but not targeted." As the Earth fleet moved deeper into the system, they passed more evidence of a one-sided war. Destroyed habitats drifted in space. Scanner readings showed massive population centers reduced to rubble on two different worlds. "Admiral," said the tactical officer, "those ships ahead, they're being pursued by 3 larger vessels. The larger ones match no known design in our database, but their weapons are hot and targeting the smaller ships." Walker didn't hesitate. "Move to intercept. Position our fleet between the pursuers and the smaller vessels. Open a channel to both groups." The communications officer worked at her station. "Channel open, sir. This is Admiral James Walker of the United Earth Defense. Fleet, we are responding to a distress call from the Luminari. We request immediate communication and cessation of hostilities." The bridge crew waited tensely. After 30 seconds, one of the screens flickered to life, showing a slender, blue-tinged humanoid figure. Its large eyes widened at the sight of the humans. "Earth? You came," the alien said in halting English, likely translated through the same system that had decoded the original message. "I am Representative Lin of the Luminary Council. We must seek immediate shelter. Those pursuing us are Void Empire hunters." Walker nodded. "Move your ships behind our defensive line. We'll handle this." As the Luminari vessels, which appeared to be primarily civilian transports with minimal weapons, moved to safety, the 3 pursuing ships changed course directly toward the Earth fleet. "They're charging weapons," reported the tactical officer. "Rays, shields. Open a channel to the approaching vessels," Walker ordered. After several attempts at communication went unanswered, the lead Void Empire ship fired a bright purple beam that struck the shields of the Invictus. "Shield impact at 40% capacity," reported the defensive systems officer. "Their weapons are powerful, but our shields are holding." Walker's expression hardened. "They've made their choice. Target their weapon systems only. Let's show them we're serious without destroying them if possible." The Invictus and 2 accompanying destroyers fired precision shots at the lead Void ship. The advanced targeting systems of Earth's vessels struck with surgical precision, disabling the enemy's main weapon array in seconds. Instead of retreating, the other 2 Void ships accelerated, launching what appeared to be boarding pods toward the Invictus. "They're trying to board us," Captain Lewis said with disbelief. Walker's response was immediate. "Intercept those pods with point defense. Target the engines on both remaining ships." Earth's vessels responded with overwhelming firepower. The defensive grid around the Invictus vaporized the incoming pods while concentrated fire from the supporting ships disabled one Void vessel and forced the other to retreat. In less than 5 minutes, the battle was over. On the observation deck of the Invictus, Representative Lin and 3 other Luminari delegates stood in stunned silence as they watched Earth's crew secure the disabled Void Empire ship. "You defeated them so easily," Lin finally said, turning to Walker. "We have fought them for years, losing ground constantly." Walker studied the alien delegates. The Luminari were tall, slender beings with 4-fingered hands and luminescent blue skin. Their large eyes seemed to hold both wisdom and profound weariness. "Tell me about this Void Empire," Walker said. "We need to understand what we're dealing with." Elder Trell, who had joined them from the surface of the nearby Luminari colony, stepped forward. "They appeared in our region of space 20 years ago. At first, they offered trade and technological exchange. Then they began demanding resources, then territories. When we refused, they attacked." "How many worlds have they taken?" Walker asked. "From us?" 11 colonies and 3 major worlds," Trell replied. "But they have conquered dozens of species across 3 star clusters. Their empire spans hundreds of planets." Captain Lewis, standing beside Walker, exchanged a concerned glance with him. Earth's fleet was powerful, but not enough to face an empire of that size. "Why didn't you fight back?" Lewis asked. "Your technology seems advanced in many ways." The Luminari looked down, their skin dimming slightly with what Walker assumed was shame or sadness. "Our people abandoned warfare thousands of years ago," Lynn explained. "We developed defensive technologies, yes, but offensive weapons. We believed we had moved beyond such things. The Void Empire knew this. It is why they targeted us first in this region." Walker considered this information. "And what exactly did you expect from Earth?" "Your message asked for aid." "Medical supplies," Trell said. "Perhaps sanctuary for refugees. Technology to better shield our remaining worlds until the Void Empire moved on to easier targets." Walker couldn't hide his surprise. "You didn't expect military assistance?" The Luminari exchanged confused glances. "The ancient records describe Earth as a world of healers and builders," Lynn said. "We thought perhaps you might offer sanctuary, not warships." A subtle smile crossed Walker's face. "Humanity has been many things throughout our history. Healers and builders, yes, but also warriors when necessary." Before their conversation could continue, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Admiral to the bridge," came the urgent call over the intercom. Walker rushed onto the bridge with Captain Lewis close behind, leaving the Luminari delegates in the care of security personnel. "Report," he commanded. "Long-range sensors have detected a large force entering the system," the tactical officer replied. "At least 30 vessels, sir. Configuration matches the Void Empire ships we just encountered, but much larger." Walker studied the tactical display. "Time to intercept?" 4 hours at their current speed. Walker made his decision quickly. "Send a message to Earth Command. Inform them of the situation and request reinforcements. Then prepare the fleet for defensive operations." He turned to Captain Lewis. "I want a detailed scan of this system. If we're going to defend it, I need to know the terrain." "Admiral," interrupted Lieutenant Peters, "the Luminari are requesting to speak with you urgently." Walker nodded. "Put them through to my ready room. Captain, you have the bridge." In his private office adjacent to the bridge, Walker activated the communication screen to find Representative Lynn looking even more distressed. "Admiral Walker, you must leave this system immediately," Lynn said without preamble. "The force approaching is led by General Drav himself, the Void Empire's most ruthless commander. Your ships, impressive as they are, cannot stand against such numbers." "We didn't come all this way to run at the first sign of trouble," Walker replied calmly. "Besides, we now have valuable intelligence about their weapons capabilities from our brief engagement." Lynn's large eyes blinked rapidly. "You don't understand. They will destroy your vessels and then punish our people even more severely for contacting outside help." Walker leaned forward. "Representative Lynn, there's something you should understand about humans. We don't abandon people who ask for our help. Your people called and we answered. Now we'll show the Void Empire exactly what that means." As Lynn stared in disbelief, Walker continued. "Now I need everything you know about this General Drav, his tactics, his weaknesses, and especially how he reacts when surprised." For the first time since their meeting, a faint glow of hope appeared on Lynn's face. "Perhaps," Lynn said slowly, "the ancient records were incomplete in their description of Earth." General Drav stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Void Dominion, his gray-scaled skin reflecting the dim purple lighting. His 6 eyes, arranged in a horizontal line across his face, narrowed as he studied the tactical display. Explain, again, how 3 of our hunter ships were defeated by unknown vessels, he demanded, his voice a low rumble that made his subordinates flinch. Commander Vex swallowed hard. The ships appeared suddenly at the edge of the system. They intercepted our hunters with unexpected speed and weapons technology we haven't seen before. And what did the survivor report about these newcomers? They call themselves humans from a planet called Earth. They claim to be responding to a luminary distress call. Drav's upper eyes narrowed while his lower ones focused on the approaching battle group. The luminari have been hiding powerful allies. Interesting. He tapped a long claw against the display. Prepare all ships for battle. I want these Earth vessels captured if possible. Their technology may prove useful. Admiral Walker had spent the past 3 hours preparing. The luminary homeworld, a beautiful blue-green planet called Luminary Prime, lay vulnerable before the approaching Void Empire fleet. After consulting with luminary leaders, Walker positioned his ships in a defensive formation that would force the enemy to divide their forces. All ships reporting ready, Admiral, Captain Lewis informed him. Walker nodded. And the evacuation? Proceeding as quickly as possible. Captain Morgan has led a ground team to assist with the civilian evacuation from the capital city. Walker frowned slightly. The Void fleet will be here before the evacuation is complete. Yes, sir. We'll need to hold them off. Walker studied the tactical display one more time. His force was outnumbered, but held several advantages. Earth ships had more advanced shielding technology, and their crews were battle-trained through countless simulations based on humanity's long history of warfare. Open a channel to all Earth vessels, Walker ordered. When the communication officer nodded, Walker spoke. This is Admiral Walker. In moments, we will engage an enemy force that has been terrorizing this region of space for decades. The people of Earth have never backed down from defending those who cannot defend themselves. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity stands for. Protect the luminari at all costs. Walker out. He turned to Captain Lewis. Deploy our surprises. On the surface of Luminary Prime, Captain Morgan led a team of 50 Earth soldiers through the gleaming towers of the capital city. Unlike the sleek, polished buildings, the streets were chaotic with panicked civilians rushing toward evacuation points. Morgan, a compact woman with short brown hair and 15 years of military experience, used her helmet's translator to direct the flow of refugees. This way. Move quickly, but stay calm, she called out, her words converting to the musical luminary language. Beside her, Lieutenant Parker kept a wary eye on the sky. Captain, we've got incoming. Void Empire dropships breaking. Through the atmosphere. Morgan activated her comm unit. All teams, we have hostiles incoming. Defensive positions around evacuation points Alpha through Delta. Remember, these people have never seen human combat capabilities. Try not to terrify them more than necessary. Her soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, deploying portable shield generators around the gathering points where luminary civilians waited for transport ships. Most of the aliens stared in fascination at the heavily armed humans. Their own security forces carried only basic stun weapons, nothing like the advanced combat gear of Earth's troops. How much longer until the next transport arrives? Morgan asked a nearby luminary coordinator. 10 minutes, the alien responded, his skin pulsing with anxiety. Morgan checked her tactical display. That's going to be cutting it close. The first enemy troops will land in 12. As if to emphasize her point, the distant roar of Void Empire ships grew louder. Morgan made a quick decision. Parker, take half the team and set up an ambush at the main approach. Diaz, your squad establishes a fallback position here. The rest with me. We're going to give these Void Empire troops a proper Earth welcome. In orbit, the battle had begun. The Void Empire fleet approached in a standard formation. That suggested confidence in their superior numbers. Walker had anticipated this. Activate stealth mines, he ordered. Throughout the debris field that the Earth ships had quietly seeded during their preparation time, dozens of small devices powered up. As the first wave of Void ships passed through the field, the mines attached to their hulls, bypassing shields designed to stop energy weapons but not physical objects. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. Across the enemy formation, explosions disrupted their neat lines. 5 smaller ships were immediately disabled, their engines dead. "Second wave, engage," Walker commanded. The Earth destroyers, which had been hiding behind Luminary Prime's largest moon, now accelerated into the confused void formation, firing precision shots at engines and weapon systems. On the main viewer, Walker could see the massive Void flagship adjusting course, trying to bring its heavy weapons to bear on the Invictus. "They're targeting us specifically," Captain Lewis noted. Walker nodded. "As expected. Bring us about. Let's give them a clear shot at our forward section." Lewis raised an eyebrow but relayed the order. The Invictus turned to present its bow to the approaching flagship. The Void Dominion fired a massive energy beam that struck the Invictus head-on. The bridge shook violently. "Shields at 60%, reported the defensive systems officer. "Holding." Walker smiled grimly. "Now, return the favor. All forward batteries fire." The Invictus unleashed its main weapons array. Unlike the energy weapons of the Void Empire, Earth's battlecruiser fired advanced kinetic penetrators, hypervelocity, rounds designed to pierce shields and armor through sheer physical force. This technology, developed for wars that humanity had feared but never fought against itself, proved devastatingly effective against the Void Empire's defenses. The rounds tore through the flagship's forward shields and punched holes in its command section. Secondary explosions bloomed across its hull. "Direct hits," reported the tactical officer. "Their primary weapons are offline." "Sir," called Lieutenant Peters from communications, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. Captain Morgan reports enemy ground forces have engaged." On the surface, Morgan's team had set up a kill box. As the first Void Empire troops disembarked from their landing craft, tall, heavily armored soldiers with mandibles instead of jaws, they walked directly into overlapping fields of fire. Morgan waited until the enemy was fully committed before giving the order. "All units fire." Earth soldiers opened fire with weapons that the Luminari had never seen before. Pulse rifles that could switch between stunning or lethal force, smart grenades that could distinguish between friend and foe, and portable railguns that could punch through the heaviest Void armor. The first wave of enemy troops fell within seconds. A Luminary security officer stared in shock. How do you fight like this?" Morgan checked her tactical display as she responded. "On Earth, we've prepared for war for thousands of years. We just never had anyone to fight except ourselves." The Void forces regrouped quickly, bringing up heavy weapons. Energy blasts struck near Morgan's position, melting the crystalline material of a nearby building. "Fall back to position 2, she ordered. "Diaz, start loading civilians on that transport as soon as it lands." As her team executed a textbook fighting retreat, drawing the enemy away from the evacuation point, Morgan couldn't help but notice how the Luminary civilians watched them with a mixture of fear and awe. These peaceful people had never witnessed real warfare, certainly not the kind that humans had perfected over centuries of conflict with each other. Parker slid into cover beside her. "Transport has landed at evacuation point Alpha. Diaz reports they're loading civilians now." Morgan nodded. "Good. We hold this position for 5 more minutes, then fall back to cover their launch." A massive explosion shook the ground as Void reinforcements deployed a heavy walker, a 6-legged weapons platform that towered over the buildings. "Well," Morgan said calmly, reaching for a compact missile launcher on her back, "this just got more interesting." She aimed carefully at the walker's central joint, a weakness in its design that Luminary intelligence had identified. The missile streaked toward its target and detonated precisely where intended. The walker collapsed, blocking the main approach and buying precious time for the evacuation. In the sky above, flashes of light marked the continuing space battle, humanity's first interstellar war, fought to protect aliens they had only just met. The secure communication room aboard the Invictus hummed with energy as Admiral Walker faced the holographic projections of Earth's Security Council. 3 days had passed since the initial battle at Luminary Prime. While Earth's forces had successfully defended the planet and evacuated thousands of civilians, the Void Empire had retreated only to regroup. The situation is more complex than we initially understood, Walker explained, standing straight despite his exhaustion. The Void Empire controls hundreds of worlds across 3 star clusters. They've enslaved dozens of species and stripped entire planets of resources. President Taylor's hologram flickered slightly. And the Luminari? Were they simply the latest target? Yes and no, Madam President. The Luminari were targeted because they're a peaceful species with valuable technology, but minimal defensive capabilities. However, our intervention has changed the equation. The Void Empire now sees Earth as a threat. Fleet Admiral Wilson leaned forward. Which means they'll eventually bring their full force to bear against us. Walker nodded. Exactly, sir. We can expect a major offensive within weeks. My battle group alone cannot stand against their full military might. The council members exchanged glances. What are you proposing, Admiral? General Rivera asked. Walker activated a tactical display. A full counteroffensive. The Void Empire has never faced a technologically advanced opponent willing to fight. Their tactics are designed for overwhelming peaceful worlds, not engaging in actual warfare. I'm requesting reinforcements, the main battle fleet. Silence fell as the council considered his words. This would be a major military commitment, Director Patel noted. Potentially the largest deployment of Earth forces in history, and the first interstellar war humanity has ever fought, added President Taylor. Walker stood firm. With respect, Madam President, we're already at war. The only question is whether we fight it here with allies or wait until the Void Empire reaches Earth, which they eventually will. They've already shown interest in our technology. After further discussion, President Taylor made her decision. Very well, Admiral. The main battle fleet will depart within 48 hours under the command of Fleet Admiral Reed. But understand this. Your mission remains defensive. Protect the Luminari and other threatened species, but avoid unnecessary expansion of the conflict. Walker saluted. Understood, Madam President. As the transmission ended, Captain Lewis entered the room. The Luminary Council is waiting to speak with you, sir. Walker nodded. Send them in. Representative Lin and Elder Trell entered, accompanied by leaders from 3 other species, refugees who had fled Void Empire occupation. Admiral, Lin began. We've received reports that more of your ships are coming. Yes, Walker confirmed. Earth has committed to defending your people and others, threatened by the Void Empire. The aliens exchanged looks of surprise. But why? Asked one of the refugee leaders, a stocky being with rock-like skin. You barely know us. What does Earth gain from this war? Walker considered the question carefully. On Earth, we have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. For thousands of years we fought wars among ourselves. We developed weapons and tactics meant to fight other humans. When we finally unified our world, we maintained our military because we always wondered what we might find among the stars. He gestured to the viewport where Luminary Prime was visible. Now we know. We found people who need help against those who would oppress them. What Earth gains is the knowledge that when called upon, we answered. Elder Trell's skin glowed brighter with emotion. Then we are fortunate that our ancient beacon reached your world. 7 days later, the space above Luminary Prime filled. With light as Earth's main battle fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. 50 warships of various classes, led by the massive dreadnought Sovereign under Fleet Admiral Reed's command, moved into defensive formation. Admiral Reed, a tall man with dark skin and silver hair, transferred to the Invictus for a strategy meeting. The ship's conference room was filled with officers from both fleets and representatives from the allied species. Reed studied the tactical displays showing Void Empire territory. Their empire is extensive but spread thin. Classic overextension, Walker nodded. They've never needed to concentrate forces because they've never faced significant resistance. Until now, Reed said with a grim smile. He turned to the aliens present. We'll need everything you know about their major military installations, supply lines, and command structure. As the meeting progressed, a plan took shape. not just to defend Luminary Prime but to launch a counter-offensive against key Void Empire strongholds. The first target was a Void Empire forward base in a neighboring star system. The installation served as a staging area for raids against Luminary colonies. All ships battle Formation Theta, Admiral Reed commanded from the bridge of the Sovereign. Frigates provide screen coverage. Destroyers target their defense platforms. Invictus Group will focus on their command center. The Earth fleet moved with precision that impressed even the experienced Luminary military observers on board. Unlike the rigid formations of the Void Empire, Earth ships adjusted their positions dynamically, adapting to the enemy's responses. The Void Commander's voice came through on an open channel. Unknown vessels. This installation is under the protection of the Void Empire. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Reed smiled thinly. This is Fleet Admiral Thomas Reed of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We received a similar demand at Luminary Prime. You may recall how that ended. Without waiting for a response, Reed gave the order. All ships, engage. The Earth fleet struck with overwhelming force. Advanced missiles disabled the base's shield generators while railguns tore through defensive platforms. Within minutes, the outer defenses had collapsed. Sir, reported a tactical officer, they're launching all fighters. Reed nodded. Deploy our carriers. From the hangar bays of 3 carrier ships, Earth's aerospace fighters emerged, sleek, nimble craft designed for both space and atmospheric combat. They met the Void fighters in the space between the fleets. The difference in combat effectiveness became immediately apparent. Void pilots relied on superior numbers and brute force, while Earth pilots executed complex maneuvers and coordinated attacks. Within minutes, the space around the base was littered with debris from destroyed Void fighters. On the planet's surface, Captain Morgan led a Special Forces team toward the main control center of the Void base. Their mission: capture intact data cores containing information about Void Empire fleet movements and strategic plans. Breach point ahead, Morgan informed her team as they moved through dense vegetation. Remember, we need those data cores intact. The team moved silently, using advanced stealth technology that rendered them nearly invisible to Void sensors. They reached the base perimeter without detection. Sensors show 20 guards at the main entrance, another 15 patrolling the grounds. Lieutenant Parker reported. Morgan studied the facility through enhanced binoculars. We'll use the secondary entrance. Diaz, deploy the distraction drones. Small insect-like drones flew from Diaz's pack, heading toward the far side of the compound. Moments later, explosions drew the attention of most guards. Move now, Morgan ordered. The team slipped through the momentary gap in security and entered the facility. They encountered minimal resistance until they reached the central data core. 6 guards heavily armed, Parker whispered. Morgan nodded. Stun grenades, then non-lethal takedown. We want prisoners for intelligence. The team executed the plan flawlessly. Within seconds, all 6 guards were unconscious, and the technicians operating the data systems surrendered without resistance. Start the download, Morgan ordered, and put these prisoners in restraints. One of the Void technicians stared at the humans in shock. Who are you people? No one fights like this. Morgan smiled grimly as she secured the aliens' restraints. We're from Earth, and you've been attacking our friends. In orbit, the battle had turned decisively in Earth's favor. The Void commander requested communication with Admiral Reed. This is General Drav, came a deep, rumbling voice. I command the Void Empire's 3rd expansion fleet. Reed's expression remained neutral. What do you want, General? To understand why Earth interferes in matters that don't concern you. The Luminari are weak. It is the natural order that they serve the strong. That's where you're wrong, Reed replied. On Earth, we learned long ago that strength isn't measured by how easily you can conquer others, but by how willing you are to defend those who cannot defend themselves. Drav's multiple eyes narrowed. An interesting philosophy. Let us see if it survives contact with the full might of the Void Empire. The transmission ended abruptly. Sir, reported a communications officer. We're receiving transmissions from multiple systems. Word of our victory is spreading. Resistance movements are forming on at least 6 void-occupied worlds. Reed exchanged a glance with Walker, who stood nearby. "It seems we've started something," Walker observed. Reed nodded. "The question is, are we ready to finish it?" 3 months after Earth's forces had first arrived in Luminary space, the Grand Council Chamber on Luminary Prime hosted an unprecedented gathering. Representatives from 27 species filled the room, some recently liberated from Void, Empire control, others who had been watching the conflict from afar and now sought alliance with the newcomers who had changed the balance of power across 3 star clusters. At the center table sat the key architects of this new reality, Fleet, Admiral Reed and Admiral Walker from Earth, Elder Trell and Representative Lin from the Luminary, and surprisingly, General Drav of the Void Empire, who had arrived under a flag of truce. The past months had seen a series of swift, decisive victories for the Earth-led coalition. 12 major Void Empire strongholds had fallen. 35 worlds had been liberated. The Void Empire's once mighty fleet was reduced to less than half its former strength, with many ships simply surrendering rather than facing Earth's forces. Fleet Admiral Reed opened the proceedings. 3 months ago, Earth answered a call for help from a people we had never met. Today, we gather to establish a framework for lasting peace in this region of space. Elder Trell's skin glowed with emotion as he rose to speak. When we activated the ancient beacon, we hoped for medical supplies and perhaps shelter for refugees. We never imagined summoning warriors who would change the course of history. Murmurs filled the chamber as many delegates nodded in agreement. The Luminary Elder continued. Our ancient record spoke of Earth as a world of healers and builders. What we did not understand was that humans became such effective healers because they had spent millennia learning how to treat wounds inflicted in warfare. They became such skilled builders because they had to repeatedly rebuild what war destroyed. General Drav's multiple eyes focused on the human admirals. The Void Empire has existed for 3 centuries. In all that time, we never encountered a species that could match our military might. We believed it was our destiny to rule. Then came Earth, a world we had never heard of, from a galaxy we had barely explored. The general's mandibles clicked softly before he continued. I asked Admiral Reed a question during our first encounter. Why would Earth fight for strangers? I have spent these past months considering his answer. It has changed my understanding. Surprise rippled through the assembly. The Void Empire was not known for introspection or change. Reed stood. The coalition forces have prepared terms for peace. They include the immediate release of all enslaved populations, the establishment of demilitarized zones between former Void territory and neighboring systems, and reparations to worlds that suffered under Void occupation. General Drav clicked his mandibles, a sound that humans had learned indicated resignation. The Void High Command has authorized me to accept these terms. Our expansion is ended. Perhaps it is time we learned different ways to interact with other species. As the formal proceedings continued, Admiral Walker stepped away to a quiet corner of the chamber where Representative Lin waited. Your people have adapted remarkably well to these changes, Walker observed. Lin's skin pulsed with a gentle blue light. Necessity is a powerful teacher. We remained peaceful for too long, forgetting that sometimes one must stand firm against those who would cause harm. And now? Walker asked. Now we find balance, Lin replied. We will not abandon our peaceful nature, but we will learn to defend what we cherish. Your Captain Morgan has been training some of our young people in defensive tactics. Walker smiled. She mentioned that. Said they're naturals at strategic thinking. There is something I have wondered, Lin said after a pause. Why did Earth maintain such powerful military forces when you had no external enemies? Your world unified a century ago, yet you continued building warships and training soldiers. Walker looked out at the distant stars visible through the crystal dome. Humanity has always been drawn to the unknown. For thousands of years, we looked up at the stars and wondered what, or who, might be out there. We hoped for friendship, but prepared for hostility. He turned back to Lin. Our history is filled with encounters between different human cultures, some peaceful, many violent. We projected that pattern onto the stars. When we finally developed the technology to explore beyond our solar system, we went prepared for either possibility and found both, Lynn observed. Walker nodded. Yes, friends to protect and enemies to defeat. In a way, the Void Empire justified all our preparations. Later that evening, a smaller gathering took place in a private garden overlooking the capital city. The leaders of the coalition shared food and drink in a more relaxed setting. Earth's officers had discovered that many species across the galaxy had developed fermented beverages similar to human alcohol, one of many surprising commonalities. Elder Trell approached Fleet Admiral Reed with a small, ornate box. A token of our eternal gratitude, he said, opening it to reveal a crystal that glowed with inner light. This contains the complete history of the Luminary people. We offer copies to Earth as a symbol of trust and friendship. Reed accepted the gift with appropriate solemnity. We are honored. Earth will share its knowledge and history with the Luminary as well. Nearby, Captain Morgan was regaling a group of aliens with stories of Earth, gesturing animatedly. So, then the knight says to the dragon, "It's not the size of the sword, it's how you use it." The aliens looked confused until Morgan's translator caught up, then erupted in laughter that sounded like musical chimes. Admiral Walker joined Reed as the elder moved away. Earth Command has approved the establishment of a permanent defense fleet in this region, Walker informed him. I've been offered command. Reed nodded. A wise choice. The Void Empire won't be a threat for the foreseeable future, but there may be other challenges out here, and other friends to make, Walker added. Representative Lynn approached, accompanied by delegates from 3 recently liberated worlds. These leaders wish to discuss formal alliance with Earth, Lynn explained. We have seen how Earth treats its friends, said one delegate, a tall being with iridescent scales. We would be honored to count ourselves among them. As discussions of trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense filled the evening, Walker found a moment of quiet reflection. Earth had entered the galactic stage not through cautious exploration, but in a blaze of military action. Yet that action had been in defense of others, establishing humanity's reputation as protectors rather than conquerors. 3 days later, Reed prepared to return to Earth with half the fleet, leaving Walker with sufficient forces to maintain security in the region. The 2 admirals stood on the observation deck of the Sovereign, watching as supply ships transferred personnel and equipment. History will remember this as a turning point, Reed said. Humanity's first interstellar conflict. And hopefully, our last, Walker replied. Though I doubt it. Reed smiled slightly. The Security Council is already discussing expansion of the fleet. First contact with the Luminary has confirmed what we always suspected. The galaxy is full of both wonders and dangers, and people who need protection, Walker added. Below them on Luminary Prime, the rebuilding continued. Earth engineers worked alongside Luminary builders, combining technologies in new ways. Earth medical teams treated the injured from dozens of species, and Earth diplomats helped establish frameworks for cooperation among worlds that had previously had little contact with each other. As the sun set over the Luminary capital, illuminating the crystal spires with golden light, Representative Lynn stood with Elder Trell at the ancient beacon that had started it all. Do you regret activating it? Trell asked softly. Lynn watched as an Earth shuttle landed nearby, bringing more supplies and specialists. No, Lynn replied. We asked for aid and received salvation. We thought we were calling healers, but summoned warriors instead. The representative's skin glowed with a warm light. And it turns out that was exactly what the galaxy needed. In orbit, Earth ships stood guard over a new alliance, one forged in battle, but dedicated to peace. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not just as explorers or traders, but as defenders of those who could not defend themselves. The Luminary had thought they were asking for aid. Instead, they had summoned Earth's Armada and changed the course of galactic history forever.